Hello, I'm Parikshit Singh, MD, at Studio 19, our favorite studio where we record our great conversations about life, philosophy, the universe, eternity, the infinite, and everything
In between.
in between. And we have our esteemed guest, Partho, here, who is going to, and we are going to talk about our next book, our upcoming book, The Age of Shri Aurobindo. It has not been fully written yet, but it's a great book. And why is it a great book? Because the topic, the theme is of great import, I believe, to the world. And so let's talk about Sri Aurobindo because most of the Western audience and perhaps even Indian audience doesn't really know him, although he's becoming more and more recognized, perhaps partially with all his, his genius still has not come out. Although I must say Aldous Huxley, Ken Wilber, some of the greatest thinkers recognized his genius, and he was even nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1950. I think the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1948. But that's not important right now.
No, that's not important.
So
It
even
never was.
never was. So let's talk about Sri Aurobindo. What does he mean to you, and what are your thoughts? And why is he important?
So why is he important and what does he mean to me are two very different questions.
Let's talk about the two very different things.
Let's start with what does he mean to me. So, perhaps one of the most difficult questions to answer for any disciple about his guru. What does a guru mean to one? What does a guru mean to one? It's a profoundly difficult question to answer because, as you know, in our tradition, the guru is equal to the supreme, to the divine. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma. And in this case, the guru is not just human. The guru is, in a sense, one who is realized and embodied Parabrahma. So what to speak of a guru like that? What does it mean to me? The universe, for me, the universe is a living grace of Sri Aurobindo. And the more I can remember that, the more I can live that, the more I can live in that consciousness that this whole universe, everything that's happening in it, is the living grace of Sri Aurobindo. The more joyful the experience of living becomes, the more complete it becomes. And perhaps that is what Sri Aurobindo means to me.
So I want to go into this further because most people will not relate to it. So I want it to be, what is a guru? Guru, I guess the original, one of the root meanings is one who leads you to light. Am I
yes,
right?
in a way, yeah. Literally, one who leads you to light, the light of knowledge, the light of understanding, the light of liberation, the light of truth.
Right. And we also say in the same breath that the guru is really always within you. The
That too
inner
is true.
divinity.
Yes.
The real guru is
Yes.
your own
Yeah.
divine being that resides within you.
Yes.
Is that the correct
Yes,
understanding?
yes. So in Sanskrit, they call it the Antar Guru, the one who's within. Antar is within Guru, as you know. So the Guru seated within in the heart is the, we call it the Antar Ishvara, Ishwar seated within.
Right.
The Antaryami, the one who controls from within.
And who guides your life.
And the one who guides you by the one who steers you through life.
Through all the challenges, the
Yes,
difficulties, the
yes,
darkness.
Yes.
There's always a light within that's guiding you.
Yes.
And there's a sure hand,
Yeah.
which all of us really know.
Yes,
We
and
know
have
that.
experienced without
Yes.
perhaps being too conscious of it.
Right.
So this inner presence of the divine is the guru.
Right.
And as we know in our yoga, every human being has this inner presence of the divine, without
Yes.
which the human being wouldn't really be there.
Right.
So in our yoga, we call that inner presence the psychic being.
Right.
In some other yogas, they would probably call it the Atma,
The soul,
inmost soul, yes.
or the Hriday Purush,
The
Chaitya
Antaratma,
Purush.
the Chaitya Purush,
Different
various
names for it.
terms, really.
Right.
All of them signifying the same reality, the divine presence within.
Right.
So, who's Sri Aurobindo? One who has realized this divine presence.
Right.
What does it mean to say that one has realized the divine presence? So, this is not a mental realization.
Right.
It may start as one, but it goes way beyond mental realization. It becomes a spiritual realization and identity.
Right.
In the Vedantic sense, when you realize the divine, you realize your identity with the divine.
Right.
You realize your oneness with the divine. So when you realize your oneness and your identity with the divine in a practical sense, you become the divine. Obviously, realizing one's identity is to become that. So it is by becoming the divine that you realize your identity with the divine.
Right.
So Sri Aurobindo is amongst those who have realized the divine, realized their perfect identity with the divine, and have become perfectly one with the divine, and have become the divine.
Right.
So in that sense, when the divine presence within you is your guru,
Right.
and he has realized that divine presence, so he therefore becomes the guru within.
Right.
So in that sense, it's the same.
Right.
So a being like Sri Aurobindo may be or may appear to be a guru externally, in the external form
Right.
of the guru, but that is perhaps a very small portion of the truth. The real truth is that the one you're seeing outside of you is really the one who's within you,
Right.
the divine presence within you. And to know him
Right.
as the divine presence within you is to know the truth of the guru.
Right. Could you say this also in a different way? The infinite. When we talked about the infinite manifesting as the finite.
Yes,
remember?
yeah.
So the infinite is manifesting through each of us, and in a form, in a limited name and form, nama rupa. But now the infinite is manifesting with greater force and greater light, or self-awareness, greater self-realization in your heart. That consciousness that is growing is actually, as you have said, is the divine consciousness. So it's just becoming aware of what it is which was sleeping till now.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the words. They're difficult questions to answer. So, when you look at the guru,
Right.
the guru is also looking at you
Right.
inwardly. I'm talking about the inner
Right.
looking. When you hold the guru in your inner regard, the guru is also holding you in his inner regard.
Right.
And there is a subtle communion that is happening through this self-regard. The more you look into the guru's eyes, the more you look at him, the more you look into him, you are really going beyond the external, superficial, phenomenal world, and you're looking deeper into being itself, because remember, the guru is the one who's realized the divine.
Right.
So it's that the infinite has realized itself in that finite form. So when you're looking at that finite form that you call the guru, you're actually looking at that infinite consciousness
Right.
that is revealing itself in that and through that finite form. So if you look deeper into that finite form, you're really looking straight into the infinite consciousness. And that infinite consciousness is almost like looking at a very deep, mystical reflection of yourself.
Right.
Why do you love the guru so much? And this is a love that goes beyond any other form or kind of love I know. It goes way beyond the love of man and woman. the love of mother and child. It goes way beyond that, all forms of human love. So where is this? Why is this love? Love, as we know, even in the human sense, is finally a seeking of identity and union.
Yes.
And in this sense, too, love is a seeking of identity and union, intimacy.
Right.
But in this case, it's intimacy with the divine,
Right.
seeking identity and union with the divine. So when that is the root of the love for the guru. Because when you're giving yourself to the guru, when you're looking deeper into the guru and giving yourself to the guru, you're really looking somewhere in the depths. You're looking at yourself without at first knowing it.
Right.
And the more you catch glimpses of yourself in your truest, in your most sublime form, the deeper is your adoration for the guru.
Right.
Because it's the guru who's reflecting you back to yourself. So after a stage, especially with someone like Shri Aurobindo, after a stage, the guru ceases to be a person, a nama rupa.
Right.
The guru becomes the manifest divine for you, in which sense that you're really looking at your own Atma. So looking at Shri Aurobindo, for me at least, this is my innermost experience I'm sharing, is I'm looking at Ishwar himself. I'm looking at my own Atma. I'm looking at Brahma in the only form that I can look at Brahma, which is a form in which Brahma has revealed itself.
Would you also say the guru is reflecting your highest possibilities to you? Your potential?
The highest possibilities. The guru is reflecting your true being to you. So if you feel that the true being is your own highest possibility, then yes.
Yeah. And the true guru is one who always will direct you back to your divinity within. Because we see so many gurus nowadays who are wanting to control.
Yes.
Cults are being made.
So, as I said, the look, that's very important in a relationship, the yogic relationship between guru and shishya,
right?
The disciple and the guru. So when I say look, I really mean it in a very, for me, that word is more important than any other you can use. Looking at the guru. Looking is very important. Your eyes, your drishti. Yatha rasa tatha dhyan. Yatha dhyan tatha drishti. So you're looking at that which you adore, which you love, which you have found to be the highest, the completest, the most perfect embodiment. That's the guru that you're looking at. So when you look at such a being, you are drawn in. Please understand, I mean that in a very real sense. I'm not talking poetry here.
Yeah.
Your whole being is drawn in. You don't need to meditate. You don't need to sit and do any kind of meditation. Just looking into the guru, you're drawn into an infinity of space and consciousness. You get the profoundest meditation just looking at the guru.
Yes.
And then when you look at the other gurus, the ones you're referring to, the public gurus, let's say,
right,
and you look deep into them, for that's the nature of the disciple. He will always look deep.
Right.
Because he's been taught by his guru to look deep.
Right.
And Mother and Shri Aurobindo always used to say that do not judge any life form without looking into it. So when you look deeper into it, there is no depth. Nothing draws you. You're just there. It's flat. Two-dimensional. You look deeper and deeper and you still don't go anywhere. Nothing draws you in. You don't, the being of the guru doesn't open up to infinite depths. It's still flat, and therefore you know that it's not judgmental statement. Who am I to say that this is a real guru? It's not my business. But I know it's not for me. This relation is not for me, and I quietly go my way. But the same eyes, when they look at Shri Aurobindo, whoa, what an experience. You depth upon depth into which you're drawn. And it's important for us also to know, and you more than anyone else will understand this. When I say Shri Aurobindo, I'm saying in the same breath the mother. For me, there is no difference. Shri Aurobindo and the mother are the same being, the same consciousness expressing itself through two beings. So when I look at either of them, it's the same thing I'm looking at.
So you've talked about the guru in your book, The Sanatana Dharma,
Yeah.
and the guru is very important as
Yes.
a light, as your guide in your own
Yes.
growth and development.
Yeah.
Let's take this a little to a more secular way of looking, shall we say? And so he's personally, deeply engaging to you. You've connected with him, but that's your personal connection with the divine.
Yes.
Which each person may have his or her own connection to the divine. Someone may go via the Buddha, someone may go via Christ, and of course they had their own age.
Yeah.
But why is Sri Aurobindo important now? Is he important
To me,
to the world?
to the world, I don't know. In a manner of speaking.
Yes.
The moment I make a statement like that, I mean, this,
Right.
I mean, even me, if I say that Sri Aurobindo is important to the world, I am imposing a personal, what? Belief? No, not belief. Personal knowledge, personal sense, even perhaps personal conviction.
Right.
I'm posing it on the world. Because it's important for me, I say it's important for the world. Who knows, really?
Right.
I don't. And I know the mother said this very often, that Sri Aurobindo is the future of the world. But again, if the world does not discover its own future, and I say so, then I'm again imposing a statement. And I think every religion has done that.
Right.
Today, religions are what they are because someone somewhere said, this being, my guru, my messiah, my prophet, my teacher, is important for the world, very important for the world.
Right.
The world cannot do without him or her.
Right.
And this is the future of the world. And that's the beginnings of religion. Therefore, I personally, I do not say that to anyone. You've never heard me make a statement like that. I never say that. And sometimes I write about it, but that's in spite of myself. One has to write. I wrote an essay, I remember, during his, to mark his centenary. But that's about all. And very personal statement. Then I wait for people to come and ask me why I said that.
Yeah.
That gives me the opportunity to talk. But unless I'm asked, I don't talk about it.
Well, I asked you.
So, yes, so I said what I said.
But then our whole discussion is the age
So
of
I can
Sri
tell you why
Aurobindo.
yes, but that's a very personal statement. I mean, for me, for you,
Right.
you who are writing this book, The Age of Shri Aurobindo, for you, it is the age of Shri Aurobindo.
No, it's not just a personal statement. I'll tell you why I think so.
Please do, yes.
Okay, because one, the world, the globe, humanity is going through a certain crisis, shall we say, which I think is quite evident. The battle between the religions, the clash of civilizations, as we call it. Humanity is having a challenge of the automation, increased automation. AI is coming, smartphones being used by not so smart people, and we are being absorbed into an awareness. It's a mechanized awareness. Our children are getting sucked into it. Humanity has kind of reached a dead end because it's driven by the mind, by the ego. We have really not evolved beyond ourselves. And kind of we've hit, as I said, the alley has stopped. So, of course, it is important for me to look for solutions. What are the solutions that humanity has? And to me, not just as a guru, but someone who offered us different solutions for humanity, even for India. India's freedom, one of the guiding lights, perhaps the most important one, was him. Without him asserting that every nation has a right to be completely independent and autonomous, that nation has no future. There's no viable, permanent future for that, and the nation is going to lose its selfhood. And he did not speak just for India. He spoke it as a fundamental principle. At that time, it was unthinkable that India would be free of the British. Britain was the biggest power across the globe.
Yes.
Pan-Britannica. And the most Indian leaders were happy by being a vassal, a slave to the British imperialist power, and just saying, okay, you teach us how to govern ourselves better and we will be allied with you. The first man who said, no, it is the right of every nation to be independent. It is the fundamental right. And without it, the nation will perish. So to me, that was, of course, personally important, but not just personally. It was important for all the people living in that ancient civilization, which is one of the only civilizations left after 5,000, 6,000 years.
Yes.
Most other civilizations, Egypt, Greece, the Romans have been subsumed. Native American civilization, all destroyed, gone. But one civilization that has held itself together despite all the setbacks is the Indian civilization.
That's historically true.
Historically true.
Yes.
So I hope you agree with that.
Yes, of course.
So that's why I say he's important, not just as a guru.
Historically, yes. I mean, there's no question about it. Historically, what he's done for the independence movement of India, undeniable.
And the whole concept of, Swadeshi, we will only use the things we produce.
Right.
Now the global world is awakening to it. America is realizing to its dismay that it outsourced its manufacturing, its industries, its jobs to China. Yes. And what a huge loss it is for this great nation. It almost tumbled from position 1 to what, 2, 3? I mean, it's ridiculous.
The process made China what it has become today.
And empowered China to continue its darkness and negative ways. It's neo-imperialist approach of China. So self-reliance in everything one does is not just a human responsibility. It's a nation's responsibility. Yes. So I learned a lot from that. And he constantly boycott foreign goods, American goods, boycott their education systems, which did not appeal to the Indian genius. Indian genius is different. Why should we take from Britain its educational systems, which are, in retrospect, even for you as an educationist, you will say they are outdated. They are limited, very partial.
Totally.
Only mental education is what they emphasize on. And you, with your book on integral education, that book would not have come without the insights given by Shri Aurobindo, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And
in fact, even
the mother?
In the Sanatana Dharma, I've written on education, which is not true to the spirit of Sanatana Dharma.
Right.
Therefore, it cannot work for India. True,
So
I agree with you.
our education, even here across the globe, our education has to make us complete. Our education is making us 1/4 of what fragmented, diffracted, like a ray of sun going through a prism, and just you take one band and this is sunlight. So all our mental development, but where is the emotional intelligence? Where is the vital or the pranic development? The body, and God forbid, spirituality. What about that? An open, wide, experiential approach to the beauty of life. Our children are not even feeling the earth that they live on. They don't know how to garden. They don't know how to enjoy the flowers. They don't know how to play. They want to just go into these TikTok and tic-tics, and it's ridiculous. Yeah. So that is why I have, and hopefully it's not an imposition of my own personal sense. It is, I think, an important conceptually and for the world to realize what he is bringing to the table.
I understand what you're saying.
Right.
I mean, I hear you. I understand you.
Do you agree now?
No, I do not.
Okay, so let's...
I agree and I do not agree.
Okay, so
I agree with you at a personal level, yes, all the way.
Right.
I'll tell you why I do not agree.
Okay.
Because this is it's a personal conversation.
Yes.
So you mentioned that the human species is what you said something about crisis.
Yes, our human
going through a crisis.
Yes.
But really, is it? Is my question. Are human beings generally going through a crisis? What are the indications of someone going through a crisis? Pain, intense pain,
anxiety,
discomfort,
Yeah, discomfort.
You can't sleep at night.
Yeah.
You're being twisted and torn apart almost. That's when that's happening, you're going through a crisis. But are human beings going through a crisis? The more I look at human beings, I find they're not. They're very comfortable, happy with their technology and with making money and so fighting for power and domination, with their pastimes, their various amusements. I don't see any sign of crisis. When I say crisis, that humans are going through a crisis, they look at me like, duh.
We are not in any
What
crisis.
are you talking about?
We are fine.
You may be in crisis. We are not. So the question,
Well,
am
well-
I in crisis? Or is the human species in crisis? So when I look into myself, I know I was in crisis. There was a time in my life
Yes.
that I was going through a spiritual, moral, intellectual crisis. And that is when I found Shri Aurobindo.
Right.
And the solution that you're talking about. That's when Shri Aurobindo as a solution made complete, concrete sense to me.
Right.
It was like when you're in that kind of an existential anguish,
Right.
that kind of a pain, angst,
Right.
you're being torn apart, and then suddenly you see light and you can touch that light. It's not an abstract light.
Right.
You can touch it, feel it, draw it into yourself, and it works. And you have Sri Aurobindo saying, there is a crisis of evolution, and the only way out is a change of consciousness. And you suddenly realize what that means, change of consciousness. Because you've experienced consciousness in such an intense way. You've been struggling with consciousness. And suddenly you realize, yes, change of consciousness, that makes sense. How? Then that question arises out of your anguish. What is this change of consciousness? And again, there's Sri Aurobindo saying that the psychic, that's the first change of consciousness. And it makes eminent sense to you. In fact, that's the only thing that makes sense to you. Everything else becomes nonsensical. Everything else just falls away.
Right.
You don't have time for anything else. And the psychic is like you're gasping for air. You're suffocated and you're gasping for air. And then you suddenly find that psychic is that air, the next air that we have to breathe. So Sri Aurobindo becomes a solution for you. You look out at the world, they don't know what's going on. There's no crisis, there's no suffocation, everything is going on. How do you say it? Hunky-dory? I mean, who cares for ordinary human beings? Nobody does. And does the ordinary human being care? No.
No?
The
People
ordinary human being, talk to ordinary human beings. What do they care for? Am I getting enough money for tomorrow? Do I have my insurance? Do I have my salary coming in? Do I have this, that all right? Is my kid going to the right school or college or whatever? And, is
Right.
my practical world in order? Yeah, great, let's go play golf. Allow for the exaggeration.
But hold on. You're talking about the people, average people in safe areas, in the US or in India or in Europe, relatively safe, no?
So, you're talking about the battlefield.
Battlefield.
Yes, so they're dying.
Right.
People are dying,
Right.
right?
Right.
What do you do about that? The people themselves, do you think they're really thinking about evolutionary crisis?
No, they're set in
change
their
of
ways.
consciousness?
They're set in their ways.
And do you think that's breaking? If tomorrow the war stops, how long do you think it will take for them to come back to... What happened during COVID?
Yeah.
I, for one, thought that this is it. Now the world will wake up. This is a blow.
Right.
A mother once said the force of crashing circumstances. I said, this is it. But the COVID passed and everything is back to normal. All is hunky-dory again.
Go back to abnormal, shall we say.
That's a good way of putting it. So if the war were to stop tomorrow itself, how long do you think it'll take for people to get back to normal? Everything will come back to normal or abnormal or whatever.
So
Do you understand?
I totally understand
what I'm saying.
Well, hold on. It's like a patient comes to me. Sugar is running at 500.
Right.
Right? I tell the patient, we need to fix this. The patient says, no, I'm fine. I'm hunky-dory.
Yes.
But I'm seeing the crash coming in the next 2 years. He's going to
You
lose his
are.
eyesight. He's going to lose his kidneys.
Yes.
He's going to lose his heart.
You are.
Yes.
Exactly the same thing, sir. You are seeing the crash coming
Right.
for the human species.
Right.
The human species. Your patient will go back and have the next chocolate cake again, as he always has
And
had.
drink his orange juice with
Drinking his
donuts.
orange juice with donuts, yes. And not go for that exercise or whatever.
Okay.
What I'm saying is,
Right.
it's very important, especially for the book that you're writing. You have found a solution.
Right.
You have seen deep enough to know that if we don't go for this solution,
Right.
the one you just talked
Right.
about, what I'm saying, change of consciousness, we are finished. And therefore, what happens? You plunge into that. You find that change of consciousness. You find the key to that change of consciousness. You go through however difficult the processes may be, you go through the process of the change of consciousness because you're committed to it, not because it's a abstract spiritual fancy for you,
Right.
but it's an existential question for you. You're burning with it. It's as what the mother used to say, is perish.
Yes.
Cling to the truth or perish.
Right.
The truth or the abyss, she used to say.
Right.
So you have experienced that truth or the abyss. Cling to truth or perish. You have experienced it. I've experienced it. Therefore, we have found Shri Aurobindo. But the human race has not. The human societies anyway, are not going through any of that. And I speak on it. There was a time I used to speak on all this, and I used to, I was in education. I used to, talk to children and parents about this, the impending crisis. No one listened. Actually, no one even understood. Even if they listened, and you know why they didn't? It's not because it was too intellectual for them. No, it wasn't. Not because it was too philosophical or abstract. No. It's because they were not in pain. For them, it was far too abstract for them to understand any of it. When you talk about 5G, for instance, the radiation from 5G, or what communication devices are doing to us, with which you started a while ago, do you think any of them will even for a moment think of the possibility of keeping aside the device and say, okay, let me detox for a while? No, they won't. They'll go crazy doing that. So I find that this is a very important, a very fundamental issue for people like you and me to address. That can I bring these ideas, this inevitability of a change of consciousness, to human beings at large? No, I can't. I've tried. And I've quietly given that up, understanding with all humility that no, I cannot, not my job. But can I change? Do I need to change? Yes. What does it mean, change of consciousness? The other day we were talking about it, to become acutely conscious of every twist in my own nature and untwist them, to clean myself, to keep myself clean and pure for that. That much I can do. And that much I must do. But beyond that, I don't know.
Okay, so hold on. Let me play God's advocate here.
God's advocate.
God's
I like
advocate, not devil's advocate. We'll do that. Although, as you said, the separation between God and devil too is an artificial
Absolutely, yes.
duality that we have created. There may be dark forces, but to give the devil so much is also an error. But you wrote this book.
Yes.
If it's only a personal thing, then just keep working on your self, change yourself because obviously that's the only action we can do. Change ourselves, focus on ourselves, correct ourselves, see our falsehoods as they are, and attempt to experience something different, better, become better, constantly, every moment. But you wrote a book.
Yes, I did. And
why?
Why? I'll leave out the personal reasons for writing the book. That
Okay.
For me now, the important reason, especially living in India, I experience it almost on a daily basis. That Hindus in India do not understand Sanatana Dharma,
Yes.
which is their dharma, really. They're well, they're born into this dharma.
Yes.
In the only way that one can be born into a dharma, really. But they say it's their dharma. They call themselves Hindus, Sanatanis. Sanatana Dharma is our dharma. And yet there's so much about the dharma that they do not understand. They're not even aware that this is also dharma and that too is
Right,
dharma,
right.
So one of the reasons I had for writing this book was to tell the Hindu about Sanatana Dharma, so that as Hindus we understand Sanatana Dharma at a bit more depth than we do,
Right.
deeper than we do, that we begin to learn about the heights and the depths that Sanatana Dharma has and appreciate the heights and the depths of our own dharma. So when I've written, you've read the book, so you know that at no point in the book have I said this is the dharma for humanity. I've suggested that if you understand what the dharma truly is, the harmony at the heart of things that is holding all our existence together, then this is human, this is universal.
Right.
If I use the Sanskrit term Sanatana Dharma, you think it is Indian. If I don't, you don't have to think it's Indian. If I use the eternal harmony and order of things, it's not Hindu, it's not Eastern or Western.
Right.
It's human. So what I've said is this is human. This is the human future in the sense that this is the only thing that can get us out of our collective insanities.
Right.
This is the only thing that can bring about the change of consciousness that I'm talking about, the key to the future. So the key to the future is not Sanatana Dharma per se, but the change of consciousness. Now, if this change of consciousness comes to any other dharma, or any other, anything else, call it by any other name, it doesn't matter.
Right.
As long as it's the key to the change of consciousness, then that's it.
Right.
So this is a book I've written to state facts about Sanatana Dharma.
Right.
That Sanatana Dharma derives from Vedanta, from an essential Vedantic vision of the universe,
Right.
the Vedantic truth that everything is one. And the living of this truth in one's mind, life, and body is the yoga of Sanatana Dharma. With the Vedanta and the yoga are the two wings of the Sanatana Dharma bird,
Right.
without which you cannot fly. And that's all I've stated, nothing more, nothing less.
But we discussed it. I'm going to quote yourself to you, which is always fun, even if you may not have said it exactly the same way. I had asked you this question. Suppose you had the Buddha in place of Shri Aurobindo in this book, or Christ. Could it still be the philosophia perennis, the perennial philosophy?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
So why Shri Aurobindo?
No, that's okay. You can have Shri Aurobindo.
Thank you.
I have no problems with. I have no problems with any great teacher. But you write a book to state a fact, even for the people in India who are not aware of their own crisis. Because if the Indians or even the Hindus started realizing what depths they have from their teachers, one would hope the life itself in the nation would change. Because India is still aping. It has become free, 75 years have gone, but it's still a colonized entity.
Yes.
Mentally, vitally, emotionally.
Yes. We haven't found our honor.
Right.
To use that statement from the movie we saw. Beckett?
Beckett,
yes. We haven't found our honor yet.
We need
and as you've written, you've used the word honor as Gaurav in your book.
Yes.
And that is, we haven't found the Gaurav of our being.
Right. Not arrogance, not...
Yes. And Gaurav is also related to the Gurutva of our being.
Right.
So we haven't found that. It's true.
So you wrote this to bring out what our original genius is, if I may use the word.
Yes, yes.
But this is still a universal...
Yes.
Philosophy?
Yes, yes.
So, if we understand, and that's what I've always felt, the teachers get hemmed in by the organization created around them.
That's right. Yes.
So a theologian creates a theology around a spiritual being, and now we only see that spiritual being in that
Right. Hmm.
mold, which is,
Yes.
we have not understood the being at all.
Right. So then the spirituality gets replaced by the, what should I say, religiosity.
Right,
The religion supplants the spirit,
right. And then again, you have divisions.
and then again you have divisions.
I'm right and you're wrong.
Absolutely.
Right.
My God is the true God. So, but that's such immature thinking.
Right,
A truly mature human being, no matter where and what religion he may belong to, would never say a thing like that.
right.
First mark of maturity is to know that everyone has his or her own path. Every society, like every individual, has its own path to the truth.
Right,
So, which is what I've tried to explain in the book Sanatana Dharma.
right. And if we go further, which is what I tried in the Veda Made Simple,
Yeah.
to state that the Veda was created by
Yes.
our forefathers.
Yes.
Which don't belong to
Yes, that they belong
India
to
or a religion.
At that time, there was none.
There was none.
There was none.
They thought of the
Yes.
whole.
And you have so beautifully, so lucidly, you've explained the symbolism of the Veda, because the Veda is lost to most people because of its symbolic quality, because of metaphor and symbols. That's the rishis actually tried to hide, not tried. They did. They hid the meaning. They
Right.
couched the meaning in metaphors and symbols to hide it from the uninitiated.
Right.
Which really I've never understood, but why they did that. But you have, like many others who have tried, including our guru, we have tried to bring back the hidden meaning, the occult significance of the Veda back to the conscious thinking mind. It's an amazing thing to do and a very important thing to do.
Well, conceivably, and just to answer, why did they hide? I have several a sense about it. One sense is that they really did not try to hide. What they were catching, their language is just, that's how they saw the world. And you did not have mass communication. You did not have mass education. You could not communicate with. You could not go on a podcast. The Rishi was not holding a podcast, and it was not limited just to India. This mystical way of seeing the world, this way of approaching, was also there, as Shri Aurobindo has pointed out, in Egypt, ancient Egypt or ancient Greece or Persia, or the Chaldeans had it. What we call the Magi, right, who come back later in the journey to the Christ, the three wise beings who realize who he is. So there was a kind of an inner connection among these different civilizations. Indians, of course, were great memorizers and masters of creating granular levels of education so that you crammed it in and you remembered every nuance. Other civilizations, either unfortunately or maybe that's how life evolves,
Yes.
those disappeared. So we don't even know how they pronounced, what mystical knowledge they had, what great realizations they had. But this gives us an insight into perhaps how they thought and communicated.
Which it does, yes.
And how, say, if you look at the Egyptian civilization at that time, why were they preserving the body? What was it? Was it just a medical thing? Was it just to preserve a body because they were attached to it? Was there some deeper significance?
Was there?
I feel so.
Yeah.
I feel so. And at least Shri Aurobindo says
occult significance.
There was an occult significance. And then the sun god, Akhenaten, the king in 13th century BCE, he moved away from all diverse religions to one, where unity, one, the sun only was accepted as the one principle of God. Now, if you say just the sun is the only God, suddenly you say, okay, fine. But if you see the sun as a principle of that unity of the universe, and that which feeds, and suddenly the principle of the Brahman itself, then suddenly you realize maybe there was something deeper there. Perhaps this was the first attempt at monotheism, which of course got distracted and diffracted in our present lives. So somewhere they were connected. And I think as humanity, if we can start seeing those symbols, and we are still living those symbols today. We think this is 5,000 years ago, but the genius of those people who are our forefathers comes to in our life even today. We are using those symbols most of the time without realizing it. But those memes, if I may call them, which is the present word, they're carrying through our lives. And those symbols are, whether in religion, whether in literature, linguistics, it's coming through. Now, coming back to, you wrote the book, you wanted to leave something so that someday someone may read it.
Yes.
Perhaps.
Yes, and see something in it that they find worth following through.
Right. When someone wants to awaken from the crisis or is in a crisis.
Yes, yes.
When someone is undergoing that pain of, is there a solution? And they find all rigid.
So then they will come to Shri Aurobindo.
Right.
Because the anguish of the crisis, deeply and intensely felt, will bring them to the threshold of the solution, which is Shri Aurobindo. They still may not call it Shri Aurobindo, but they will know it as a change of consciousness. Then they will try to find the key to this change of consciousness. Change of consciousness, yes, but what is this change of consciousness? Is it just becoming more learned, more knowledgeable? No. Is it becoming intellectually wiser than before? No. So what is this change of consciousness? It's not becoming more intellectual. It's not to do with increase of knowledge. It's a change of consciousness. The principle of the consciousness changes. So then one will start looking for that change. What is that change? And as one understands that change, one will start looking for the key to that change, because the key is not in our hands.
Right.
If it were, then change of consciousness would be as easy as changing clothes.
Right.
But it is not like that. We have no idea of that other consciousness, so how do we change?
Right.
When I have no idea of what that other consciousness is, I cannot change to it. So I need a key. And when I start searching for the key, I will discover Shri Aurobindo. That's my thinking. There's no other way. You will discover Shri Aurobindo because he is the holder of the key. He has the key in his hand. Then he'll give you that key, the psychic change.
The change within.
Yes, I mean, I'm calling it, I'm using his language to call it the psychic change.
Right.
And that change, the moment you use that key, one door opens. And then you see that where this has to lead, because that still does not change consciousness. It begins, it initiates the change of consciousness. But there are steps after that. And each key he will give to you as you progress. The higher you climb, the more worthy you become for the next key. And that is how you discover Shri Aurobindo. Therefore, why do I say that the Age of Shri Aurobindo is here upon us, and why I feel your book, The Age of Shri Aurobindo, will be so significant, is because the age of this change of consciousness is the Age of Shri Aurobindo.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes. But it has to be discovered. It cannot be given. No one will accept it if you just give it. Because the resistance is far too strong. And the ignorance is far stronger than that. The ignorance and the resistance together. But when you need to discover the key, if you really need to discover the key, the inner pressure is enormous, then the resistance will break. There'll be,
But is it just the key, or doesn't he give the whole program for your
program
transformation?
Is of not much use to me, at least. Again, I speak for myself. I mean, what will I do with the program if I haven't changed my consciousness? I can have the whole program with me.
Right.
So it's like that movie Contact.
Right.
Carl Sagan,
Right.
based on his book. So this extraterrestrial civilization, Vega, I think
Right.
it was. So they had transmitted the entire blueprint for the machine. They had the whole program with them. The entire blueprint was with them. They didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
They didn't even know how to put it together till one engineer, one brilliant scientist saw through it and just told them how to turn it around, and boom, suddenly you have a machine there.
Right.
Out of just prime numbers, series of prime numbers. And then even when you had the blueprint of the machine, you didn't know what to do with the machine.
Right.
And then they actually constructed the machine. Still, you didn't know what to do with the machine.
Right.
Then they switched it on. The machine started working. Still, they didn't know what's going to happen with the machine. So what's the use of a program? So maybe program is needed for other people. For me, I don't need a program. I need the key, the key, the key. Once I have the key, I don't need anything else. The key is all I need. Because then I will walk. I don't need anyone's program, not even my own gurus.
Right.
Because I have to walk. If I don't learn how to walk,
Right.
I don't become the next human.
Right.
And when I say I don't mean as an individual. As human, the cosmos that has become human. I need that key for me to walk.
But isn't this what he said? That you have to focus, go back to yourself and discover the truth within and live that psychic
Absolutely. I
consciousness?
mean, Shri Aurobindo cannot be simpler. His whole program, as you're calling it, or formula, whatever word we want to use, it is the simplest possible. There is a crisis. Feel it, know it, understand it. Don't just live your life superficially. If you live superficially, you'll never even touch the crisis. The crisis won't even touch you.
Right.
So go a bit deeper. The deeper you go, the more anguish you feel. Then you know the crisis. And it's a world crisis. It's a human crisis. The moment you feel it, understand why is it so. What is this crisis? Understand the nature of the crisis. The moment you do that, you will know the only way out is to change consciousness itself, because finally it's a crisis of consciousness. So change of consciousness is the only solution. Now, how do you do this change of consciousness? The first key. Take it, do it. That's all. It cannot be more elegant. It cannot be simpler and more elegant than this.
So you say change of consciousness, and I want to clarify that word. What is consciousness?
That which we are. That which I see, that which I touch and feel, that which I know and experience and understand.
Right.
All that put together is consciousness. I am my consciousness.
Right.
Consciousness is what I am.
Right.
From the moment I'm born.
Right.
Perhaps even before I'm born.
Right.
The prenatal conditioning and all that. And from the moment I'm born, I start accumulating experiences. Every experience makes a little impact, a little change. And all that grows and makes me what I am. The way I see the world, the way I process experience itself, the way I process all information coming to me. That's consciousness.
Right.
So the way I see you is not the way somebody else will see you, because that person's consciousness and mine would be different.
Right.
We are all different in consciousness, yet we are all using the same stuff, which is consciousness.
So is it more mental? Is it more the mind?
So consciousness, let's go back to a few hundreds of thousands of years ago. Consciousness was not mental.
Right.
It was more in the body. It was more instinctual, pranic, vital.
Yeah.
Even before vital, it was just instinctual, more animalistic.
Right.
But that was consciousness.
Right.
At that time, whatever we were, in our previous avatar,
Right.
as perhaps the Neanderthals or even before them. So our whole consciousness was just that, instinctual. Just survive, hunt, gather, survive. But then somewhere it became more vitalistic. Then it became subtler, more differentiated. Then we got to mental consciousness. Then it took many thousands of years for this mental consciousness to become refined and sophisticated enough for it to become intelligence, self-reflective intelligence. All that is consciousness. Right. Change of consciousness, therefore, is now we have come to a point of consciousness which we have to realize for ourselves, that this consciousness has reached its the end of its tether, as it were. But if I don't realize that, there's no way I'll ever look for the next, because somebody can't come and tell me, that This is the mind will not take you there. Many of our gurus and teachers do that, but my mind is taking me everywhere. My mind is what's making me understand what you're saying to
Right,
begin with.
right.
So how can you say the mind is not going to take me there? Take me where? Mind will take me everywhere. Till I realize the mind will not. Till the mind realizes it will not go any further. It has reached the end of its tether. Then I will realize that something has to change now. Something has to give way. Something has to break through.
What is the problem with the present consciousness? I mean, are you not happy with it?
I'm very happy with mental consciousness, but the fact is that I also know that there is a next possibility.
Okay.
And I cannot reach the next possibility by using my mental consciousness, by using my mental intelligence. So it's like, you want to understand the nature of reality. So you're studying physics. I did that. I'll give you a personal example. I'm very interested in the nature of reality, even from the outside. So
Right.
I study a lot of physics, especially quantum and post-relativistic physics. So I soon came to a point where it was fascinating for me. And I felt that I was on the edge of getting something, touching something. But somehow I couldn't go beyond that. I mean, I had come to the limit. And I realized that the only way to break through this is to learn mathematics, because that is the next tool. Mathematics will give you the insight, which physics by itself never will. So then I started struggling in math, and obviously realized not my
Forte.
I mean, I would then have to give the next 20 years to math. I didn't have that time. I mean, I would rather give it to Vedanta than math. So that's just an example. But we have to come to the point where we feel that I need another tool, another language, another consciousness. In fact, Shri Aurobindo calls it another faculty of the consciousness. I need something else to go beyond. So if you're intelligent, reasonably intelligent, if you're intelligent, you will soon realize the final limitations of intelligence. Intelligence can only function within a framework. It cannot go beyond itself.
Right.
So when you reach the limits of the framework, when you reach the limits of your own intelligence, that's when you begin to realize I need something else, something which is not yet me, or something that's not yet mine. I can't use that faculty.
Yes.
I don't have that faculty.
Right.
So suddenly you realize that there is a reality which is not physical, material, which is spiritual. So the mind understands that there is a spiritual reality, but it has no idea of it. It's like the mind understands what will happen once you enter a black hole, but we have no idea really what's going to happen because it's entirely beyond your experience.
Right.
So the mind understands spirituality. It even talks about spirituality very cleverly,
Right.
but it understands nothing of spirituality.
Right.
It's one of the things humans do, that we very cleverly and smartly talk of something we have no idea about.
Right.
But a truly intelligent being will know that, listen, I'm just talking, I'm just reading. I think I understand, but I understand nothing because I have no experience corresponding to that
Right.
reality. So how do I get that? That is when you come to a change of consciousness, something beyond the thinking mind, something beyond the rational mind.
So if I were to understand our present consciousness, the way, if you would look at it, it's really we are divided. We are divided.
We are
right?
divided,
We
yes.
are subject and object. That's the world outside, and I'm sitting here inside, little, like that movie. What was that? The Men in Black. I'm sitting inside and running
Yes.
all the levers
Yeah.
and all that. There's something. This is a concept.
Right.
And moving all this, that's the subject, and this is all the objective world. If I become more intelligent and read quantum physics, I realize this subject, these waves, these thoughts, these electrons firing in the brain,
Yes.
those two are that world that I'm seeing. So it's the world seeing itself in a way to
Yes.
speak.
Yes.
Sub-
In fact, then you discover that where do I draw the line between myself and the world?
there is no difference.
The
However-
observer and the observed.
Right. But we are still living in that awareness that is closed. As you said,
Yeah.
you come to that point, but I know this is all not separate from the reality I see, but I'm still living in a bisected,
right.
schizophrenic state.
right. So that's the consciousness.
That
that's
is the
limiting
conscious-
you to.
That is the
Yes.
limitation. I see the world, I see others, and I want only for myself. Let me take more, realizing that everyone else even on a very fundamental philosophic level, has the same rights as I.
Right.
Yet my goal is to hoard as much as I
Yes,
can. I'm a
yes.
taker.
Yes.
Right? Remember that movie where the gorillas, he tries to save Anthony Hopkins tries to save the gorillas, and he realizes gorillas share and humans take.
Yes.
So we are takers.
Brilliant movie that was. Yes.
Right? Remember Cuba
Beautiful,
Gooding
yeah.
Jr. and Anthony Hopkins. We are takers. And each of us, each human being is a taker.
Yes.
And look at what we have done to the world. What we are seeing in Ukraine is because we are takers. Each of us, each side is a taker. What we are seeing in Israel and Hamas, we are takers.
Yes.
What the crisis we are seeing in Pakistan. One part of the country is rich. The military, which is supposed to protect, has created a company of the country. Yeah. It's called Pakistan Inc. Pakistan has become a business for the military. All the businesses are owned by the military.
Completely, yes.
They are takers. Yeah. Those whose life is supposed to protect the nation have assumed all the power unto themselves. And this happens to all the dictators. Yes. This happens to our leaders.
Yes.
If we see the crisis in our businesses, military.
Not just takers, snatchers.
Robbers. Okay, snatchers.
Robbers
and killers. That's where just the taker becomes heightened.
Yes, heightened.
And then they keep justifying.
Very soon taker will become the plunderer.
Absolutely. And we see it in almost everywhere across the globe. The leaders are such. And human beings are not able to see the falsehood. And again, we are polarized. Say, if I'm a Democrat and you're a Republican, you are all bad and I'm all good, which is obviously not right.
Yes.
Because I've not met a Democrat who is all evil and a Republican who is all angel.
So again, limitation of a mental consciousness, either or thinking.
Either or.
Yeah.
We cannot see the good in each other. We cannot see even the good. Forget the good in the opponent. We cannot see the good in the other. So this othering has happened.
Yes.
Which is what our awareness is. And then that othering gets imposed. So one religion makes other religions bad, which is the same consciousness coming up.
Yes.
So whether it's Islam seeing the whole world as bad and itself as the final word, or it's Christianity saying, okay, we will have the crusades, modern crusades, and we will destroy the Native American population. We'll destroy civilizations. And yet we feel proud that we are the saviors. We represent the savior. I mean, how very ironic.
So again, consciousness, limitations of mental consciousness.
Right. So now living in that divided state, what needs to happen is a consciousness that is unitary, that sees as much truth in you as much in me, not only respects your rights to subsist, but to see the whole world in a new intelligence, that I'm not destroying the resources that are meant for our future, for our children, for ourselves.
Yes.
That is that what you're...
Yes.
The new faculty?
Yes. That's the change of consciousness. From the mental, we go to something beyond the mental. So what we would call the psychic consciousness, to use Shri Aurobindo's term.
A unitary consciousness?
So yeah, psychic is unitary and much more than unitary.
Something that has love, empathy, compassion?
Yeah, but not as qualities that the mental consciousness thinks of. For the mental consciousness, love is an ideal, it's a quality.
Right.
But for the psychic consciousness, love is the very stuff it's made of.
Right.
So you don't then think of
it's
loving.
Not a concept.
Yeah.
Love is not a concept.
In the mental, this is a very, very good way of illustrating the difference.
Right.
In a mental consciousness, we will say that, we need to come to unity.
Right.
We need to love
each other
as one.
Right.
But in the psychic consciousness, there's no such need to say anything of that kind, because you are that. The consciousness itself is unitive.
Right.
Therefore, harmony and love are principles of that consciousness.
Right.
Just like logic and rationality are principles of this consciousness. Not that we are always logical and rational.
Right.
I mean, whatever you've just said in the last few minutes are classic illustrations of the fact that we are not logical and rational.
We're not.
But then at least in the mental consciousness, we can become perfectly logical and rational.
Right.
The height of our mental consciousness has been when we are perfectly logical, perfectly rational.
Right. But that rationality has to come from the faculty that is a little above. It is supra rational.
Actually, yeah, which is mind that has come to its perfect fruition. It's
Right.
perfect. It's
Sees-
peak,
Yes.
the acme, the
Right.
peak of mental intelligence
Right.
is perfect rationality,
And to be able to see its own limitations.
which is a function of perfect rationality.
Right.
And that is the point where you have to exceed rationality to something else. That is when we go into the supra-rational.
Right.